don't judge a book by a cover, but I mean, first impressions are everything. Feeling good and having your hair and makeup done, getting a spray tan, whatever you need to do, right? There's no shame in hiring help in this area.
Welcome to Confidence Secrets, a series where we explore the art of self-presentation, confidence, and power of commanding any room you enter. This season, I'm so excited to introduce you to some amazing guests from Modern Day Wife's Meet Me in New York event. Let's jump into today's episode. It's such an honor to introduce my guest today, the incredible Meagan Elieff, Mrs. International 2024, and the visionary CEO and co-founder of the Modern Day Wife community. Meagan is a dynamic leader, speaker, and influencer who has produced hundreds of events, ranging from pop-up markets to speaker series, galas, and charity events. And as a founder of Modern Day Wife, she has transformed her vision into a thriving global community that empowers and inspires hundreds or even thousands of women to balance their careers, personal life, and aspirations. So, Meagan, I'm so excited to have you here. Can you please share more about your journey?
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here and we're going to have so much fun. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely when you say all of that, I'm like, wow, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing is, it has happened over many years. So I don't know how far back you want me to go, but it has definitely been like a work in progress and things have just, built on each other. And I think that's like a really cool thing about anyone, right? Like even yourself, you probably look back growing up, I'm assuming like you were a dancer, so you had that passion and then it just grew into what you're doing now with, coaching tons of women on their posture and confidence and stepping into that side of themselves that maybe they didn't know about. So it's very similar for me too. So you tell me how much you want to know and then I can give you the Coles notes or the long version.
Yeah, it's the benefits of these interviews that we can learn from so many different women who already has this journey behind them, have a great experience and background to share in tips and tricks. So maybe if you can share your history behind how did you start the Modern Day Wife community, because it's a huge now, right? But I assume so when it started, it was not that big, but for sure you had this vision. And let me tell you something. I remember last year, not last year, oh my God, it was already a long time ago, the event in San Diego. So you shared this, that of course, the Modern Day Vibe has a lot of sponsors, interest in brands, smaller brands, bigger brands, and you shared that, oh, you hope that one day Gucci will sponsor you. So I believe that you have this big vision ahead of you. So share how you started and how you go toward this bigger event.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I hope Gucci sponsors this too. I think it all starts with a goal, right? You have a goal or purpose. So taking it back, this is almost 10 years ago for me. Prior to Modern Day Wife, I actually had a corporate career in retail buying. So if anyone listening doesn't know what that is, it's actually a really fun job. So essentially, I was the person who got to coordinate and pick all of the items in a really trendy high-end gift shop for a hotel chain called Fairmont Hotels, which you actually have one in California and Santa Monica, and there's a Century Plaza, and we've even worked with them through Modern Day Wife, and that's actually how we got the connection, right? So, you can utilize your connections over time in different career opportunities. So I loved that career because it actually gave me the stepping stone and the vision to Modern Day Wife. Meaning when I was in that job, I spent a lot of time getting to know small business owners, medium-sized business owners, and large companies because I would purchase their products for the gift shop. So I started to learn what these owners are looking for. Like, what are their goals? What are their needs? What are they trying to do? Ultimately, they want exposure and sales. So I had that piece, right? That foundation of knowing that. And then I also loved events. So I actually wanted to be an event planner. So I was like,
Mhm.
well, why not start a community? So prior to Modern Day Wife, I actually had another business, which I sold to someone who
Mm.
now works with Modern Day Wife named Chelsea Burwash, and it was called Project You. And so the difference between that company and Modern Day Wife is that one was more, I guess you could say, personal development based, like learning self confidence, gratitude, wellness. And I kind of grew out of that. And so that's when that ended. But the long and short of it is I had the foundation from those two career opportunities that then led to Modern Day Wife.
Mm.
And so what's different and what made me start Modern Day Wife is I was in this period, which I think a lot of women find themselves in, where, you know, maybe you have a career and it's really successful, but you have ambitions to be a mom, or you want to be a wife, or you want to have that great house and you want to have friends, but really, like, how are you making this all happen, right? There's only so
Mhm.
many hours in a
Yeah.
day, and it was kind of long-winded, but that was the premise of the group. And at the time, my now husband, but he was my boyfriend, was actually very chronically ill. So Modern Day Wife was also like a passion project that I had that gave me energy to confront something really difficult in my life. This is back now in 2018.
Mhm.
Okay, so in 2018, I registered the business and I saved the Instagram handle. So I'm a firm believer, like, if you have an idea today, you could just do something about it. Maybe it's not the full blown
Mhm.
business plan and launching, but I was smart enough to be like, oh, I like this. This sounds trendy. This sounds really good. I should secure something. I should do something about it. And then I waited. I got like a logo made on Fiverr for $50, the logo
Mhm.
that we've used for the duration of Modern Day Wife until now. And I planned my first event in December of 2019. And it was an influencer brunch using some
Mhm.
of the strategies that we still use today. And then the official launch party was in 2020 of February.
Okay.
And it was in Vancouver, Canada. It started in Vancouver. So that's that story to then.
Great. Love hearing this story because a lot of was new for me as well. So that's very
Yeah.
interesting.
And it was
Oh.
small, right? To your point, like the first event was like 100 people. It also was co ed. I actually really wanted Modern Day Wife to be more co ed. So the event was for couples or just co
Mhm.
ed. The very first one, we did have a power couple panel. We did have a fashion show. So the elements of what you see today in Modern Day Wife, where it's 1,000 people, yes, it's grown astronomical, but we did have influencer co-hosts. Like, we had all the same elements that we use today, just on a different scale.
Mhm. What I like about modern day wife, but I feel it's a topic for another conversation, but still
Yeah.
that you somehow can consistently maintain the level of guests, of everyone who attend, of speakers, of all the participants and all parties involved. So it doesn't matter you have this event in Beverly Hills, in the Bay Area, in New York, or it's over in Canada. You maintain this level and it just becomes better and better. So it's I believe it's very difficult, but you make it happen every time.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a team effort. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the really cool thing about it, too, is, I mean, in the beginning, Meagan and I worked really, really hard. So Meagan's our co-founder. I met her, I guess like a year or 9 months, probably, yeah, about like 9 months into the business, 8 to 9 months into the business, through doing like an event through Modern Day Wife. And then her and I partnered up, and I was looking for a business partner. I wanted someone to do it with. I think it's fun to do business with someone else. So, her and I worked a lot. There were a lot of sacrifices. I don't know if all of them were good. I mean, I worked so much in the beginning. I was getting married. I don't know. Like, I never, I missed a lot of opportunities with friends, including my spouse. She had her son. He was a newborn. So there was some missed opportunities there. So I'm not saying that we did it right, by any means, but I mean, I think working really hard allowed it to expand and then have a team. And for me, I spent the last 2 years almost fully replacing every single role that I do. Because obviously I
Mm-hmm.
have my goals of what I want to do next. So I think if you can find the right people, then you can still expand, but have help and have people do it for you.
Yeah, I agree. So
Yeah.
it's clear that you have so much of experience to share, and I'm sure you have so many tips to share. So let's get into it. So here's my first question for you. So you attend a lot of events, different professional, social events with women, with your husband, like you mentioned, power couples events, with just women events. So how do you approach making a strong first impression in professional or social settings? Maybe you can share some examples you remember that stood out, so you remember it and you repeat this tip.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, the biggest thing is always feeling put together.
Mhm.
I mean, not saying you need to spend a huge amount on an outfit, but I mean, definitely thinking about what you're going to wear, trying it on in advance and feeling good and having your hair and makeup done, getting a spray tan, whatever you need to do, right? Because I think this is the thing. The reality is people, they don't say, don't judge a book by a cover, but I mean, first impressions are
Yeah.
everything, right? So, I mean, I'm sure we can all think of countless times you see someone walk in, they have a great outfit, you notice them right away, immediately that grabs your attention. Then you might go talk to them and maybe your opinion of them is different, but they did spark your
Yeah.
interest. So I think having that aesthetic ambiance definitely is important. And then for me, I mean, I personally always have a smile and be in a good mood. And I like to make people feel comfortable. Really, I don't think I'm intimidating. I mean, I try to talk to other people, get to know them, ask them questions. When you're hosting events, it's a little bit different. But when you're attending an event, I mean, yeah, the whole purpose is to be there to get to know others. I know sometimes it can be hard to get outside your comfort zone, but I do feel like it is important to just make sure that you make that opportunity to network with other people.
Completely agree. Yeah, you will not have a second chance to make a first impression.
That's right.
I agree with you that, yeah, people say don't judge book by cover, but the reality is that, yeah, you are completely
Yeah.
right. That like something has to spark, right, this attention. And then, yeah, other things come, but first things first. Let's talk a little bit. So we just discussed more about appearance, but let's discuss maybe something related to body language or self-presentation. So did you notice, or maybe you have one subtle detail regarding your body language or self-presentation
Yeah.
that you always pay attention to when you enter the stage or in your room?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is great because this is something we've worked on together, which I think there's no shame in hiring help in this area or, finding advice. But I mean, definitely the posture check. I really love that when I worked with you on that, where I kind of now it's just ingrained. I just think about it, right? Like how I'm sitting on the edge of my chair and my shoulders are back and I feel confident because sometimes you don't notice that you're slouching, right? Or that your
Yeah.
shoulders are rounded forward, but it does come off like better with posture. And the interesting thing that I will say is that presence can be drilled. That's definitely like a known fact, and it's very real to me, especially after doing the pageant, that stage presence is just a muscle that someone's practiced. It's not like I'm special and know it, or you're special and know it. I mean, some people, everyone just
Mhm. Yeah.
sometimes has these gifts and they don't need to practice, but the reality is all of that's just trained so that when you do walk on stage, you don't have to think about it anymore. You just know what to do. And I think through modern day life events, yes, because I do a lot of public speaking, like I don't think about what I'm going to say. I barely even write a script, right? Because
Mhm.
you get over that fear of being nervous that you can just be there comfortably and host the event and know what to say. I mean, so it's the same with stage presence, you just have to practice it.
Mhm.
And I think, you can do positive things like, I'm going to knock them dead, or I'm going to be here comfortably, or I'm confident and shining. And, another thing I worked on with another coach, which was like walking for the evening gown, and you probably have similar things, but you can just give yourself word cues as well of like how you want to make the audience feel or how you want to feel. And it does help because it just gives you something to check in with before you go on stage.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree that something that it's a muscle, you can work on it, you can build it. And there is probably, 1-2% of people who are like naturally charismatic and they can just be immediately confident whenever, but mostly, and it's completely fine that we can work it on and just become better and better in every setting. So
Yes.
you just mentioned that you do not prepare even sometimes yourself right now for modern day life events. But let me guess, probably it was not as is from the beginning. Probably it took some time to practice. So maybe you can recall some cases when you struggled with confidence on public, and what steps did you take to overcome that, and what you learned from that experience, so now you can share.
Yeah. Well, great question. When I used to run Project U, so this is going back to, oh my gosh, 2013. So like
Mhm.
over 10 years ago, I would be so nervous. I was the host. It was my company and I barely would want to get up there and talk. I would just, I think this is the cool thing, right? About moderating panels, or it's different, right? Sometimes at the Modern Day Wife event, if you're a moderator, you're not going to tell your life story. But the one thing that I love now is like feeling that my opinion or what I have to say is enough to make a comment, right? If someone's saying, I don't know, they're telling their life story or their tip, I could be like, yeah, I agree. And I love doing blah too. Before I would never say that, right? I should be like, thanks. And then I would look and read the next question. So, I've come a long way. I definitely was a script person, stare at that, not connect with the audience at all. And, I think the biggest thing is it's practice or it's taking courses. Like I've done a ton of personal development courses. I can't tell you, I've invested hundreds and thousands of dollars in courses. So I really do believe if public speaking is something you want to do, or modeling is something you want to do, there is going to have to be an investment that you want to make. And I mean, I don't know if they have this in the States, but in Canada, there's Toastmasters, there's
Yeah.
tons of groups you can go to learn public speaking. And I'm sure
Yeah, I
they
agree.
have tons of other tips and tricks too, right? But you do need to make an investment in yourself in order to get better.
Yeah, agree. But it's not only if you want to learn this or your job about being in public. One of the most popular questions I get is like, "Oh, probably your clients are mostly like public people, models." I'm like, "No, mostly they are the women who maybe their work is not that public, but they have to be in public.
Mm.
They have to learn the skill how to be better, how to present better, maybe how to negotiate a promotion or a salary raise, or some like need to better present their projects to clients or interact with clients. So it's not necessarily you have to be on stage, but recognize that you need to develop those skills, that those skills will help you to get to the next level, right? Like for you, it helped you to win actually Mrs. International, but for you, like, it's a very public thing. But for someone, it might be something not that public, but still very important and impactful on their life.
Oh, 100%. It doesn't have, I completely agree with you. It could be so small. I mean, I loved when I did the training with you.
Yeah,
I felt
thank you.
better in all areas of my life, right? Like I was more confident just walking down the street or posing for a photo with a
Yeah.
family or like with my spouse. Like there's this picture actually, it's kind of, you
Oh,
can't
yeah,
really see
kid.
because of the ring light, but I remember being like, he was kind of nervous and I felt so good because I knew what to do. So it
That
is
is great.
fun to
Yeah.
practice.
Amazing. And right now, before any public event or social gathering, do you have any rituals or habits or mindset shifts, like power poses or affirmations, or you do specific wardrobe choices that help you to feel more confident before
Yeah.
going out?
Well, wardrobe is definitely number one. Like I love looking my best. So I definitely coordinate that. When it came to the pageant, I would say like I had affirmations. My biggest thing I was before going on stage, because that was very nerve wracking. I said, it's just a game. Like, it's just for fun. I want to win, but this is just part of life. It's just a game. I'm here to be a performer. Like, I really tried to step into this, like, I am a performer type of identity for those few days. And it honestly worked because I had so much fun with it. I think when you take the seriousness out of something, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but some girls were so serious, right? Like, so this has to be perfect. I have to win. I have to do well, that you actually miss out on being there, like just actually being in the moment of the event. So I think, those are kind of the things that I like to do. I try not to take things so seriously and just have a good time with it. Of course, there's days when you feel more like on and unstoppable, and sometimes you don't. And you try your best and you bring the most energy you can. But the only other thing I'll say is like I definitely try to like protect my space. Meaning during pageant week, like I didn't go for girls' night and have drinks late and eat food late. I really did the socializing during the day. And this is like modern day wife too. Like I do the events, but I'm not up all night. I'm getting the rest because I need the rest to be on point. That's the biggest thing. And I need to eat to also be on point. So I feel you have to know what your own routine is, but sometimes you can take yourself out of the game by doing things that you shouldn't do before something big that you have in your life.
Agree. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Mindset, your priorities, your
Yeah.
schedule, wardrobe, of course. Yeah. All of
In
this.
treatments, whatever you need, you should just do it. Mhm.
Agree with you. Okay. And the last one, maybe you can share 2, 3 tips to the girls and women who are watching us so we can help them elevate their presence and stand out at events, on stage, in their daily life. So please, can you share
Yeah.
those?
I mean, okay, so if you're someone who's going to a networking event or going to events and you want to expand your network, I think, okay, you pick the event you're going to go to, right? So, number one, you buy the ticket, you need to do that. And then I would pick your outfit, figure out what you're going to wear. Are you going to go alone? Are you going to bring a girlfriend? Decide how you're going to show up to the event. And then two is I would think of the things you don't want to do. Like, say you're nervous to go up to the founder of the company or go up to a speaker afterwards and say, I loved what you said. I really wanted to connect with you. Or go talk to a group of random girls. For the most part in our mind, we think it's going to be horrible or the person's going to say something bad or mean, and maybe it will go that way, but the reality is most of the times it is fine. So I would like make a commitment to yourself of what it is that you're going to do at the event to check those boxes of things that are going to get you outside of your comfort zone. Because if you do that once or twice, then it becomes easy. For example, I just went to a workshop in Miami. This is recent. It's a sales training workshop. And as part of it, they were like, getting outside your comfort zone. We want you to go tonight and ask 3 men and 3 women, so strangers, how old they are and what they made last year. So obviously in my head, I was like, I'm too busy. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. Where am I going to find the people? And then I was like, no, Meagan, you just need to do it. And so I just did it. And the cool thing that I realized is I actually had fun. I started talking to people. They started telling me their life story. It was great. The first one was kind of nerve-wracking, and then it got better. So I think you need to really think about that, because the reality is you expand based on the connections that you have and who you know. And I know that for a fact because, for example, today with Modern Day Wife, we booked a hotel for a venue in Toronto, and it's been a year and a half that I've been working on that relationship. Meagan obviously worked with them to close the deal. It was a team effort, but there's been deposits into that relationship. We sent her flowers because we wanted to. I kept creating content for them, going to that business, showing up. So it might not pay off right away, but the relationships are what you need in order to expand. So that's like kind of quite a few tips in one. And then I think the thing to evaluate at the end too, because this is an interesting thing about events, is like, how did that event make you feel? Or did you feel that it was aligned and that it was worth your time and that it did check the boxes? Because the last thing that I will say is, in my own life, I've had to realize that I don't need to go to every event, whether it's in my own company or it's out in the life, because not every event is a priority. Just like not every cocktail night is going to be worth it, or not every trip to blah, blah, blah. There's so many times where I think we have, right? You did do something and afterwards you're like, why did I do that? Not that it wasn't fun, but if I didn't do that, I could have wrote my book, or I could have had a better marriage, or I could have spent 4 hours with my son, or you know what I mean? So I think also like you need to know what your priorities are, and it's very hard. I think it's one of the hardest things in life is to really be comfortable with being able to say no and yes to certain things. But once you have it, like once you have that compass, you have it. And then no one's going to change your mind because you know exactly where you're supposed to be. And so I think you can practice that when you go to functions because you can evaluate the situation afterwards.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, sometimes we overestimate something, sometimes or we add additional meanings to the things which even doesn't matter. Like we go to events and think like it will work out because I need to be there, but eventually it's just waste of time. And as you mentioned, just wanted to add about the events or social gatherings where you actually decided to go and you think it will work out, but you feel nervous or not really confident. I prefer have this mindset that, okay, I will probably not make tons of connections, but at least if I have at least like one meaningful conversation during this night, it will already pay off. That's enough. You don't need to have like dozens and dozens of connections. Better make 1, 2, and that's it.
I agree. I think that sometimes less is more, because sometimes if you go deeper in on one relationship, or you laser focus on that one thing instead of so many, you can actually really build that one partnership to flourish into something amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Such a great tips, a lot of inspiration, and thanks everyone who joined our interview today, and I hope you found these tips as inspiring and valuable as I did. And of course, I would love to hear your thoughts. Comment below which piece of advice resonated with you the most. And don't forget to follow Modern Day Wife and Meagan, and of course me on Instagram. I will leave all the details below. And stay tuned for the next episode of Confidence Secrets with Ziuz, and see you next time. Thanks for joining this episode of Confidence Secrets with me, Ziuz. If you're ready to take it even further, check out my programs at masteryourpresence.com, designed to help you to build that unshakable confidence and master a body language. Thanks for being a part of this journey, and I see you in the next one.